Welcome to This Explainer. So, have you ever sat there in a dark auditorium just waiting for the curtain to rise and wondered how a simple stack of printed pages, literally just a written script, manages to completely transport you into another world? It feels like magic, doesn't it? But, behind all that theatrical magic is actually a highly structured, brilliantly calculated science. Today, we're going to deconstruct the alchemy of the stage and look at the exact mechanics that make drama work.
It really all comes down to this one core question. What makes a stage play effective? Like, how does a playwright, working right alongside a director and a crew, take mere words and transform them into a living, breathing, totally captivating live performance? Drama is, at its absolute heart, a form of literature specifically designed to be performed in front of an audience. But to actually bridge that gap from the page to the stage, it relies on three fundamental pillars: to entertain us, develop the story, and, let's be honest, punch us right in the emotional gut.
Okay, let's dive into this outline. Today's masterclass covers three main elements: spectacle, dialogue, and music. After that, we'll look at the synthesis, how they all weave together, and then cap things off with a rapid-fire pop quiz to test your theatrical instincts.
Let's start with element number 1, spectacle, or the visual world. Before a single word is even spoken on stage, your brain is already processing a massive amount of info based purely on what your eyes are taking in. Spectacle encompasses absolutely every visual aspect of a play. We're talking about the scenery framing the background, the intricate costumes worn by the actors, the dramatic lighting, the props they hold, the mind-bending special effects, and even the precise, choreographed movements of the actors themselves moving across the stage. The function of all this visual information? It's massive. It instantly establishes the time and place of the story. Is it 19th century London or, say, a futuristic spaceship? Spectacle tells you immediately. It sets the atmosphere, enhances the dramatic moments, and ultimately makes the whole performance feel incredibly real and engaging.
Just think about how this applies to a classic like Shakespeare's Romeo and Juliet. Picture a production where elaborate, flowing Renaissance costumes are paired with soft, warm, but maybe deeply shadowed lighting. Those visual cues, that spectacle, aren't just there to look pretty. They're actively working to portray the deeply romantic yet ultimately tragic mood of the story way before the star-crossed lovers even meet on stage. Or, in modern musicals, spectacle might mean massive moving set pieces or pyrotechnics to create sheer excitement and wonder. It's all about creating an immediate visual hook for us, the audience.
Moving right along to our second pillar, dialogue, the driving force of the play.
So, if spectacle is what we see, dialogue is the engine that actually drives the narrative forward. It's formally defined as the conversation between characters. But please don't let the simplicity of that definition fool you. In drama, dialogue is the primary way stories are told. Unlike a novel where a narrator can literally just tell you what a character is thinking, a play relies entirely on what the characters say out loud to one another. The functions of dialogue do some heavy lifting here. It reveals the deep personalities and complex emotions of the characters. It develops the plot and moves the story from point A to point B. It communicates the overarching themes and conflicts. Basically, it gives us, the audience, all the vital information we desperately need to understand the action happening right in front of us.
So, the crucial point is, consider Shakespeare's Hamlet. Hamlet doesn't have a helpful narrator explaining his grief to us. Instead, it is purely through his dialogue, those famous soliloquies and his really sharp, witty exchanges with other characters, that his intense inner struggles and dark thoughts about revenge are actually revealed. Through these conversations, we learn everything we need to know about the tangled relationships, the hidden motivations, and the central conflicts going on in the Danish court. The words are the vehicle.
And that brings us to element number 3, music, the emotional core of any stage production.
Now we're shifting from the visual and intellectual into the deeply atmospheric. When we say music in the context of drama, we're actually referring to a pretty broad spectrum of audio elements. Sure, it includes actual songs and instrumental pieces, absolutely, but it also crucially includes background sounds and specific sound effects. The function of music here is to act as a giant emotional amplifier. It builds the mood and atmosphere of a scene. It emphasizes specific feelings, whether that's joyous happiness, biting suspense, profound sadness, or just thrilling excitement. It also plays a really massive role in smoothing out transitions between scenes, keeping us totally immersed in the world rather than staring at a dark stage during a clunky set change.
And this brilliantly illustrates how modern productions use sound. You can see this perfectly applied in the stage musical adaptation of The Lion King. Here, music becomes a major, indispensable storytelling tool. The songs and those sweeping musical scores do way more than just sound beautiful. They actively express the character's deepest feelings and advance the plot. Even when no one is singing, the background instrumental music swells during emotional scenes, making the impact of a reunion or a tragic loss hit incredibly hard for the audience. The audio literally dictates the heartbeat of the scene.
Let's move to and see how this builds into something much greater than the sum of its parts. Bringing it all together, the theatrical experience.
So we have looked at the individual pillars, but these three elements are truly magical only when they work in perfect harmony. Think about the specific anatomy of a scene. Spectacle, that targets your eyes. Dialogue, that targets your understanding and your intellect. And music, well, that bypasses the brain entirely to target your emotions directly. Imagine a single dramatic scene. You have tense, harsh lighting effects hitting your eyes. Simultaneously, characters are exchanging meaningful, sharp lines that reveal a deep personal conflict to your intellect. And layered underneath it all, a soft, dissonant piece of music is playing, heightening the tension and triggering your emotions. That simultaneous triple threat is exactly what creates an unforgettable theatrical experience.
All right, you've learned the theory. Now it is time to put your new analytical skills to the test. Let's do a quick pop quiz to test yourself.
I'm going to give you a scenario, and I want you to literally call out whether it's an example of spectacle, dialogue, or music before I reveal the answer. Ready? Here we go. First scenario. Background sounds of thunder and rain create a scary atmosphere during a scene. Are we talking about spectacle, dialogue, or music? Think about what sense this is targeting.
It is music. That's right. Remember, the definition of music in theater actually includes atmospheric background sounds and sound effects used to build that scary mood. Great job. Let's do another one.
Scenario 2. The actors exchange lines to explain the conflict in the story. Is this spectacle, dialogue, or music? Think about what is driving the narrative here.
Spot on, it's dialogue, the literal exchange of spoken words that communicates the plot and intellect of the play. All right, let's look at one final question to round this whole thing out.
Final scenario for you. Props, makeup, and set design contribute to the visual impact of the production. Is this spectacle, dialogue, or music? Think about what your eyes are processing right now.
Yes, it is spectacle. Anything that contributes to the visual, aesthetic impact of the stage falls squarely into this category. If you got all three of those right, give yourself a round of applause.
To wrap up our explainer today, let's just quickly review what we've learned. These are the absolutely essential components of any stage play. Spectacle provides the crucial visual appeal that sets the world. Dialogue communicates the complex story and rich character development. And music strengthens and amplifies the emotional expression of the narrative. When combined effectively, these elements do something incredible. They transform a flat, written script into a powerful, engaging live performance that captivates audiences night after night.
So I want to leave you with this final thought and question. The next time you sit down and watch your performance, whether it's a local play, a massive Broadway musical, or even just your favorite movie, which of these three elements will you notice first? Try taking off your regular audience hat and putting on your critic's hat for just 5 minutes. See if you can actually separate the visual spectacle from the spoken dialogue and the emotional music. I guarantee it will completely change the way you experience the magic of storytelling. Thanks for joining me on this explainer, and keep learning.